seeming to pay attention to valuations now, and where do we go from here, Guy?
Well, this is a special day for a myriad of reasons, which we'll discuss later, and it's great to have Katie here on a technical day, but we have been pointing out, I think now correctly, that Bitcoin has been trying to tell the broader market something. You obviously saw what happened there, and we have thought collectively that the volatility index was going to continue to be a thing, and here we are at 19, a little bit north of 19, and again, a down day, yes, but not a historically bad day, so I think the VIX is quietly making a move to the upside as well. Now, you mentioned valuations seemingly matter now. Yeah, I do think they seemingly matter. And what we didn't talk about last night, but is worth pointing out, I think, tonight, that Warren Buffett now quietly has north of $370 billion on their balance sheet. So they're clearly preparing themselves for something.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it has much to do with valuation because the whole way up over the last few months on any of these names that have gone up, doubled, and then doubled again. And there's plenty of them, right? And if you think about the market cap that a lot of these companies have accrued, no one's cared about valuation. So the one day that we have an earnings report from a company that was trading nearly, 115 times sales, at least on this year, had nearly a $500 billion market cap. That's obviously Palantir. It's kind of priced for perfection. And again, I don't mean that in valuation terms. I mean that in sentiment terms. I mean that in, you get this news flow. And then the question is, who's the incremental buyer, right? Because we've actually known this. We've known that the quarter was going to be a beat and raise. And if it wasn't, the stock would be trading at $150. So when you think about the stock being down 8% or whatever it is today, that's like a rounding error. I mean, that's like nothing. I mean, we talk about it. You just use the term plunge. I know you didn't use it. Somebody wrote that. You know what I mean? But like, my point is that's the farthest thing from a plunge. It just actually took back about half of the gains that it made over the last week and a half or so. So I just think that when you hear their CEO on CNBC this morning screaming about short sellers, when you hear Sam Altman last week on Brad Gerster's podcast screaming about short sellers,
non-existent short sellers,
and he's in a private, you have to ask yourself, these people, they can't just appreciate that they have $1 trillion of supposed value in their two companies and they're doing all this amazing stuff. They can't just appreciate that. They have to start looking around and talking about the naysayers. You guys won. But here's the only thing that, to me, that's important right now. You better win. Because if you don't win, it's taking the whole tech sector down with it. It's taking part of the economy down with it. If you think about how much of this CapEx spend, how much of this circular sort of investment is pushing our GDP right now. So I hope you guys can actually do all the things you say you're going to do. And it actually has nothing to do with market cap or valuation in the private markets. It has to do with executing. It has to do with investors believing you can do it. And it also has to do with your whole ecosystem, your supply chain and the customers and all that sort of stuff, believing you can do it. And you better execute on the stuff that you're delivering. Because if not, the repercussions are a lot more than one day with the NASDAQ down 2% from an all-time high.
It goes all the way to Main Street.
Correct.
Which are overexposed to this trade via ETFs and in their retirement funds. Whether they realize it or not. But it's not just Palantir. And yes, let's put it in perspective. It is an 8% plunge, if you'll indulge me that, pullback. But we also had Meta, which had reasonably, good earnings, but it was the CapEx. So are we starting to sort of doubt this story or think twice about what they are telling us and if it is worth it?
If it is worth it. That is right. That is the great question. I mean, to Dan's point, though, I mean, NVIDIA is back to where it was the middle of last week. And, Palantir, a day or two around that. So, so I take the plunge thing with, a grain of sand. But I think that the promise is still there. It has never been, though, that the market would perfectly track the promise and the growth of AI. And, clearly this is, since all of them are trading down and not all of them had news today, it's a sentiment thing and it's a risk off and a fear thing. And that could, who knows how long that could go on. So I think, if you're the new retail investor and you're recently into this trade and you see this happening tonight, I don't know, what do? Do you get scared enough to sell? Or you're so new to it, like, oh, it was at this price last week, it has to get back there, it will get back there. I don't know how they deal with it. To me, like a day like today, not great for the P&L, but I think that the story is still intact in many ways. Are the valuations out of whack? Yeah, maybe. The one that concerns me the most is Meta, with the valuation that is the lowest. Because we really haven't been able to see as much of the monetization. We know their business is better. We know that they're offering products that are better. We also know that they do get some monetization from Llama, some revenue sharing from AWS, from Azure, from Google. We don't know how much. That they don't break it out, that's not delightful. I'd like to hear it. But I do think that this one concerns me because the amount of the spend is so big now. The balance sheet now going from a cash hoard to a not cash hoard, in fact, a little bit of a debt, is concerning. So this one I'm the least comfortable with.